Poštovani gledaoci, dobar dan i dobrodošli u specijalno izdanje emisije Granice Istoka iz Rima. Ja sam Harun Karčić. Upravo se ovdje u Rimu održava ovogodišnja AOC Europe konferencija koja je okupila neke od vodećih inženjera i IT stručnjaka iz zemalja članica NATO alijanse. Zbog straha od kineske i ruske špijunaže, medijima pa i nama nije dozvoljeno da se imamo unutar samog kongresnog centra. U nastavku vam donosimo razgovor sa Erikom Bamfordom, organizatorom ovogodišnje konferencije u Rimu. Now, Erik, hello and welcome to the Al Jazeera Balkans channel, and thank you so much for taking time to speak for our channel. Now, we are here at the AOC Europe conference in Rome, and I wanted to start by asking you, we've seen how, electronic warfare, cyber and AI are merging fast. How are Western militaries keeping up with these changes, especially with rivals like Russia and China advancing rather quickly?
So one thing is learning from the experiences that we are observing coming out of the Russian aggression against Ukraine. The other thing is in the Western countries and NATO specifically, but also with the European Union, there has been an emphasis on emerging disruptive technologies over some time. So of those capabilities that you just mentioned, those have been on the map both on the scientific board but also on the capability development, especially within NATO and European Defence Agency as well. In the Western countries and in democracies in general, the skepticism against utilizing advanced AI capabilities, with the view of Skynet and Terminator in mind, there will be skepticism more so than what you see on the front lines in the Ukraine right now.
Now, we see that how defense innovation often hinges on public-private synergy. What mechanisms should be implemented to accelerate the transition of cutting-edge commercial technologies into operational military use?
Yeah, so again, there are mechanisms already in place, but I again want to defer to the Ukraine. When you look at like companies or clusters like Brave One, which is a company or an industry initiative that's comprised under several departments within the government, and it supports both civilian society and also the warfighter in bringing in brand new tech, small companies, clustering small companies, making an environment for non-military industry to join into the fight. That is one thing. On the NATO side, you have the NIAG studies, the NATO Industry Advisory Group studies, that brings in industry, gives them a sponsorship, gives them some startup money across the different companies. So it's not a contract that goes out to a single company, it goes out to a cluster and builds an arena or a forum where they can communicate across different companies to build and cluster for capability development, but also within other initiatives like Diana, AIF funding, or AIS funding in NATO as well. These mechanisms are already in place, but they haven't matured to the level you see in the Ukraine. That is dependent on the situation or the geopolitical situation. And I think that's going to happen in a lot of the different countries as well, that you will see more active engagement on the trying to bring in brand new startup companies into the military industry base of each country.
Autonomous EW systems and jamming systems represent quite a paradigm shift in modern warfare. Which emerging threats do you believe are most chronically underestimated by NATO and allied forces?
I think again, going back to some of the disruptive technologies, low observables, low possibility of intercept, ability to detect is going to be a challenge in future. Quantum computing especially, quantum sensing is going to provide a challenge for maintaining low observables. So quantum computing is probably the biggest one. Our ability to share data, the nations accepting sharing of data in near real time, so that it is no longer like national silos, but it's the Western nations are oriented towards sharing data much more sufficiently than they are doing today. especially in a combat situation. And the foundation for sharing that data lies within the formatting that you see in the NATO standardization agreements, the NATO STARNUGs. More nations need to bring those in, including the other Western nations that are not part of NATO, that are partner nations or ad hoc partner nations, need to be sharing information in those formats that are accessible, readable, structured in a way that then can utilize AI in the entire kill chain or kill web that we're looking at.
Now, cyber and electronic attacks can be quite hard to trace or to prove. We have seen quite a number of cases of GPS jamming and spoofing against commercial airlines in the north, in the northern parts of Europe. How should militaries handle the legal and moral risks, especially in murky gray zone areas?
So GPS jamming and spoofing. I mean, Russia made a shift in early 2025 where they went from jamming to spoofing, and there is a difference. So one thing is blocking the signal, the other one is manipulating the signal. Russia has most likely learned from the Ukraine or from its operations in the Ukraine that spoofing is more efficient than just broadband jamming or spot jamming of GNSS frequencies. The challenge right now is on the civilian side. It is civilian air traffic that's receiving the majority of challenges from this ongoing spoofing coming out of Russia. It is a constant, or at least in Norway, it is a constant barrier for air traffic right now. It is almost on a daily basis that Norway is experiencing spoofing right now. So it has an impact on civilian airlines, definitely, and emergency services, civilian emergency services. Not so much on the military right now, but that has to do with where you operate more so than when you operate right now.
Right.
So in Norway we've seen, and this is public information coming out of our Civilian Frequency Authority, that the increase from 2018 up until now has been tremendous on jamming and spoofing. And the same goes all along those countries that border Russia directly.
Right, but why aren't, I mean, I'm always under the impression that NATO countries are on the defensive when it comes to GPS jamming and spoofing. Why aren't NATO countries taking on offensive activities against Russian targets and using cyber tactics to attack their signals and block or at least or even spoof their GPS relays?
So I think that question goes back to the when NATO identified those two new domains with space and cyberspace as new domains, as the fourth and fifth domain. Because as you establish this as a domain, you also accept that an attack within that domain might trigger an Article 5. So absorbing these effects coming out of Russia instead of acting on them is what's keeping us away from a direct confrontation with Russia. Even though at the political level they have identified that a cyber attack at scale might constitute an Article 5 incident. So it is not denounced as impossible, but it's more that it is trying to avoid that major clash. That is the driving incentive behind not acting as harshly as you might allude to we should do.
Right. And now looking beyond 2025, I mean, what transformative trends do you anticipate will redefine the scope and focus of AOC Europe, and how might this conference itself evolve to stay ahead of the curve?
So I think one of the changes that might produce a change in AOC Europe is the European Commission white paper on rearming Europe, with the European nations standing up a much bigger military industry base, and that will do a pivot from US procured platforms and capabilities towards European produced capabilities. And that will most likely impact the participation in things like AOC Europe and European-based defense seminars and conferences in total.
Right. Erik, it was such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely.
Ometanje neprijateljskih radara, GPS signala i komunikacija, manipulacija GPS signalima poznata kao spoofing i korištenje elektromagnetskih talasa za oštećenje opreme i osoblja neprijateljskih država postaje sastavni dio modernog hibridnog ratovanja. Skandinavske zemlje se suočavaju sa takvim izazovima na dnevnoj osnovi, a sumnja se na Rusiju. Rat u Ukrajini pokazuje revoluciju u korištenju bespilotnih letjelica na bojnom polju. Sada se postavlja pitanje da li će to izbaciti iz upotrebe tradicionalne borbene mlažnjake ili će se oni zadržati još neko vrijeme. O tome razgovaramo sa generalom Fernandom Giancottijem iz Italijanskih zračnih snaga. General, hello and welcome to the Al Jazeera Balkans channel, and thank you so much for taking time to speak to us. I wanted to start by asking you, over the past few decades, we have seen a change in air power employment. What do you think are the most significant changes in this domain?
Well, the ones that came through are for sure the precision capability, which has totally changed the paradigm, and then the integration of sensors and systems for information dominance. These, I could say, are the main traditional changes with network-centric warfare and precision. Recently, we have seen another major change, which has a very high value, operational value, which is the fifth generation systems, which couple stealthiness and so the ability to intrude in very high density and effectiveness defenses, and also the ability to integrate sensors and share information to a superior level. And this is still a major advantage that the Western forces have, because no other comparable deployed operational capability still exists.
Now, the conflict in Ukraine has highlighted the importance of air defense systems, of drone warfare, and electronic countermeasures. What key lessons should be taken away from this conflict in terms of air superiority and multi-domain operations?
Well, I think this is the very moment to invest a lot in understanding this new air war. Drones have exploded in numbers and variety of employment, both on the ground, in the water, and also, of course, in the air, and with a very interesting cross-domain interaction. We see maritime drones that shoot down high-performance fighters. This is a revolution, let's say. I'm not saying a military revolution, nor a revolution of military affairs, but a revolution in way of doing things. So I would say what we need to do now is to really learn very fast from all this. War is always changing. It is the same for some fundamentals, and the main fundamental, which we should not forget, is the ability to and learn very fast from what's happening. So I'm not giving you a definite answer because we need to really work on this, and we need then to integrate this new understanding in our systems.
Now, as you said, drones, both armed and reconnaissance drones, have played a crucial role in recent conflicts. We have seen it on a daily basis in Ukraine. How should air forces around the world, adapt to this increasing use of drones? And do you see them as complementary or a threat to traditionally manned aircraft?
Once again, what wars teach us is that there is never a or solution. We should, first of all, as I said, understand, then be sure that what we understand may not be what happens next. So having a diverse, let's say, pool of resources, manned aircraft, unmanned aircraft, drones, I think is the way we should think of, but with an overarching vision on how to make system effects emerge from the interaction of these assets.
But General, with the advancement in radar and anti-stealth technology, some argue that electronic warfare and jamming may be more decisive than pure stealth capabilities. What is your perspective on this debate, and how is Italy, for example, investing in electronic warfare and next generation aircraft?
Okay, two good questions. The first one I already answered. This or dichotomy doesn't work in reality. Reality is complex, it's not binary. So I think we should exploit both drones and unmanned and stealth and electronic warfare and so on and so forth. What is important is, because then there is no definite answer. In this moment, this is the resource that is most effective. Maybe in 3 weeks we need to use another one, you see? So the important thing is the strategic and operational thinking, that it kind of orchestrates these resources. Of course, then you have to procure, so you also have to have some planning. You cannot live by the day, let's say. But even in the development and procurement process, we should keep in mind that this diverse pool of resources can enhance overall operational effectiveness. Italy is really investing a lot. If you look on the press, you will see that Italy is acquiring. We have a great experience. I had a personal experience when I was operational commander with the capabilities of our CAEW, which is our early warning system based on Gulfstream 550. Outstanding capability, really a force multiplier and information, let's say, dominance contributing resource. Now Italy is getting many more systems of this kind, not only for early warning, but also for electronic attack. And I think that this is a very good symptom that my young and bright colleagues have this holistic view of the air power, which is based on information dominance and on the exploiting of all the effective means, and not only kinetic. In my times, kinetic was the key. Now it's not anymore.
Now we've seen, how modern air forces must now operate across air, space and cyber domains. The German Air Force recently set up a new space command. The United States and United Kingdom have had it for a couple of years. How should air forces integrate the space and cyber domain as a fourth and fifth pillar, and what are these, what are the challenges they will be facing along the way?
Well, this is another excellent question. Now there is a debate which is never enough on all domain operations. It's not a new thing. Caesar was doing all domain, building bridges across huge rivers in a few days to shock the enemy that would find legions all of a sudden in their turf, you know. This is psychological warfare, but then there are many other dimensions of warfare. The all-domain concept includes space, which is a meta function for several operational capabilities, and cyber, which is as well a key meta function in a holistic view. To do this, we need dedicated and educated command and control, which has a specific culture of this system approach and which goes beyond the simple coordination with the traditional jointness.
So you're talking about establishing a command and control center on a European level.
This is another point. But it's the same in a sense, but we go in another direction which I really care much about. I think that today, more than ever, we need a holistic command and control, which employs all resources according to the best effects. This is the old effect-based operation concept, but it's still very important with an expansion to all the other domains, you know. And you need to build a sophisticated command and control capability to integrate deeply the targeting, the intelligence, targeting process, and so on and so forth. And so this is something we must invest on. On the European level, if we speak about Ukraine, Ukraine has made a possible threat to Europe evident. What I think, very shortly, is that we should, first of all, take heed of the very active hybrid warfare, which is happening right now against Europe, including information warfare and manipulation of public opinion. And to do this, we must be sure that we have a good narrative for our people. So, rearm Europe, I think, wasn't a good term. Protect Europe, which doesn't change in the substance, but a lot in wording, takes heed of the hybrid warfare.
Right. General, it was such a pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much once again for your time.
Thank you very much. It was an honor. And let's work to make this world more secure.
Elektromagnetsko ratovanje postaje nezaobilazna odbrana protiv sve veće proliferacije jeftinih, ali smrtonosnih dronova, kako u Europi, tako i na Bliskom istoku. Poštovani gledalci, bilo je to sve u ovom specijalnom izdanju emisije Granice Istoka iz Rima. Ukoliko ste propustili bilo koji dio, cijelu emisiju možete pogledati na našem web portalu balkans.aljazeera.net. Hvala na pažnji.